Hey, Watch Fam, this is Ranch Racer.
And this is Perpetual Girl.
And you guys are listening to the Love and Watches podcast.
What is wrong with you?
I don't know.
Love and Watches is a family-friendly podcast for male and female watch lovers alike. Perpetual Girl and Ranch Racer are a watch-crazy wife and husband team who've been wearing and collecting watches for more than 45 years. They enjoy bringing you the latest in collecting, interviews, news, and all things interesting in the world of watches. Enjoy the show.
Hey, Watch Fam, this is Ranch Racer.
And hello, this is Perpetual Girl.
And you guys are listening to the latest episode of the Love and Watches podcast, the podcast for all watch lovers. Thanks so much for being here with us. We've got an exciting new segment for you guys today, don't we?
We do.
Don't we, PG?
We do. Should we talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, let's quickly talk about how we got to where we did with the new segment.
Okay.
We're all stuck at home, right? And we've all been, following social media or watching YouTube or listening to podcasts, whatever it might be. And we've really been racking our brains about a couple things since the last episode with Jared Payne from Buying on Time. And the first thing was we wanted to establish kind of some sort of a regular segment, right? We have our What's in the Collection episodes, but eventually we're going to get to the end of the collection, right? I mean, that can only last for so long.
Well, that'll take a while for me.
It will, but we wanted to come up with some sort of a regular segment that we could just continue throughout the years that the podcast is out there, however long we're out there for. So that was the first thing. And the second thing we've really been thinking about is how do we get our listeners more involved? And that's important to us because I think, unfortunately, in this crazy social media driven world, that we live in, there becomes this perception that if you have a podcast or a YouTube channel, you're some big star. Now, granted, there are some people on YouTube, for instance, that make a lot of money. I mean, and they put a lot of money into their productions. But for the most part, those of us that have a podcast, we're not media. We're not big media stars. We're not even media.
We're doing it because we enjoy it.
Yeah, I separate traditional media from social media. Podcasting is social media, and literally, I mean, I think I can pretty much say this with 100% accuracy. If you have a podcast, it's because you decided to hit record when you were having a conversation with someone.
Yes.
I mean,
good
in general, that's how podcasts get started. We are all, especially in the watch world. I mean, if you have a podcast on Ferraris or on, I don't know, something else that's huge, right? Then it's different. In the watch world, we're all nothing. I mean, we are like all little tiny minnows swimming around in a little puddle on the ground, right? I mean, the watch community is so small, but that's what we love about it. And that's why we do it, because you guys are all our extended family. When we were racing, we had our racing family, right? We loved going to the track because we got to see our racing family. Well, when we record, or when PG is managing our Instagram account, which I have nothing to do with anymore, by the way. But when we're recording, we feel like we're with our watch family, right?
And that being said, during the quarantine, we've had a little bit of extra time, and I've actually really enjoyed being on Instagram lately. There's new watch collectors. These are real people, a lot more women. I've had a huge increase in people starting to listen to the show.
You had a ton of female collectors reaching out,
and I've reached out to some of them, and they're enjoying our podcast because we try to be down to earth and just kind of want to relate to everybody else because we're real people like everybody else. And so I kind of came up with an idea that we would get our listeners more involved. And shall I say it?
Go for it.
We are starting. Today is going to be our inaugural episode of the Lovin' Our Listeners Spotlight.
I love it.
Thank you.
What does it mean?
It means that we love our listeners, and we're going to have a listener on the show every time we want to do a segment. and we're going to talk to them about their personal collection and their views on watch collecting, what they have in the collection, what they want to buy, their thoughts. And I think you're going to enjoy it, because I want people to relate. You know, we all have our collections, and I've seen such great content lately from, you know, a lot of people on Instagram on their personal collections, and each one is a little different. Some of the watches, we have the same watches. There's always your Rolexes, and now there's some of the micro brands. So there's the Omega Speedmasters. So, but you look in at each person, and you start to get to know them, and you can see the patterns of what they like to collect. So I thought, why don't we get our listeners on, have them talk about their collections, and we'll see how that goes. And we have our first one today.
I loved the idea. I thought it was and it's something we've been kind of talking about on and off for a while, and it was just
a few weeks.
Yeah. And it just made the most sense. I mean, we want to have you guys more involved. We want you to be part of this. You know, we don't want to be like other watch media. We don't want to be reading you the news. We've said that before. We're not about the news. We're really not about social media. We are about the podcast, and we're about the conversation, right? We're about down to earth discussion about watches. And so this just seemed like such a great idea to be able to start bringing you guys onto the show, and it's going to be a regular segment. So, you know, I think PG, you've already started reaching out to some listeners. If you guys are interested in being on the show, and you've been listening to the show for a while, I mean, we know we've got a lot of new listeners. We know we have listeners that have been with us right from the beginning.
Yep.
If you'd be interested in being on the show, let us know. Just send an email to admin@loveandwatches.com, and we'll put you on the list. We'll talk to you about it.
Or you can DM me directly at Perpetual Girls account on Instagram.
On Instagram, or the Love and Watches account. You maintain them both now.
I do.
The only time I go on Instagram is to look at my Rant Tracer account, and that's usually not for watches. It's for my other fun addictions like aviation and racing and cars and everything else. That's what I use Instagram for now. But DM Perpetual Girl either on her account or the Love and Watches account. Let us know if you're interested. Otherwise, you might get a DM from her out of the blue asking if you'd like to be on the show. Basically, you need a Skype account, a halfway decent internet connection, and a good headset and microphone. It's pretty simple. And with your computer or your whatever device you use for Skype.
Even if you don't have a great headset, we've got a great soundboard, so we'll make it work.
We'll make it work. I mean, if we prefer usually a hardwired headset is the best because you don't have any issues with Bluetooth. But if that's what you have, then we'll figure it out. You know, we can make it work. But yeah, I'm excited about this.
Me too.
I think it's going to be fun.
And we wanted to do something different. We've actually hit a milestone. We're on our third year of podcasting now.
We entered into our third year, which is a pretty big deal.
At the very, very beginning, we weren't sure how long we would be at it. And now we're on year 3. So
we're still here. It's been spotty and on and off because we have normal lives. And
we do.
As we've said before,
we have to
don't
prioritize,
make money on this. So yeah. And there's some things there's a couple things specifically you will never ever hear from Love and Watches. Number one, we're not going to bombard you with sponsor ads. We've said that from the beginning, and that's one. I listen to podcasts about other stuff, right? I don't really listen to watch podcasts anymore. There's maybe one I listen to every once in a while, but I listen to podcasts about other hobbies of mine. If they bombard me with 5 minutes of sponsor ad at the beginning, they get removed from my library. If I'm listening to a podcast and halfway through it just suddenly cuts off and I get a bunch of ads, it goes out of my library. I hate it, and I don't want to subject my readers to it. The only time you'll ever hear anything from us related to advertising is on the rare occasion that we do a giveaway, and we try to make our giveaways nice, relatively valuable giveaways, right? We like to give away nice things. We can't always afford to foot the bill for those, so we will talk to some of our friends in the industry that we've gotten to know and see if they'd be willing to donate product. So 2 out of the 3 giveaways we've done, those were products that were donated. So, we threw an ad up for them on the website, and you might hear at the beginning of an episode, this episode brought to you by XYZ. 10 seconds, done. That's the only advertising you're ever going to hear from us.
We don't keep loaner watches even when offered to us. That's not our our thing. And if we do get loaners and they say don't give them back, we've given them away, or we send them back, or we've purchased the watch ourselves for a fun giveaway. But And I think it's important to say that because we do have a lot of new listeners who may not know a lot about us, but this is our hobby. We have a working cattle ranch and we're really busy, and I have some pretty needy rescue animals that I love. So those guys come first, and everybody has priorities in their life. They have their families, kids, job, etc.
Yep.
And this podcast is our hobby. So it was born out of that, of us both collecting, and we just want to make it relatable. We want to make it attainable, not to, we're not going to be focusing on $150,000 watches, although that's fun to look at them. But we kind of want to make it like, what are we wearing every day? Mm-hmm. What are people wearing every day? What do you want to buy? What's your lifestyle? So I think this will be a really great segment for us to go into our third year.
I think so. The second thing that you're not going to ever get from us, and I mention this because a lot of you have reached out and said, "Hey, when's your next episode going to be? And we miss you. Come on, we need an episode." And we get that. Totally understand. I mean, if I find a podcast that I like, I start going nuts. If it's okay, where's the next episode? Right, I need the next episode. We are not going to record an episode just to put more megabytes of data out there. Okay, we want these to mean something. We want to have something important to talk about. We're not going to reread the same news that you read on hundreds of other watch blogs. Right, you're not going to get that from us. If we don't have something to say, we're not just going to release an episode every week and say, "Oh, here's an episode we recorded a year ago. Here's a episode from the archives," or whatever it is. You can go back and listen to our old episodes, guys. All right, I'm not going to.
They're everywhere.
I'm not going to take up more space in the cloud by uploading the same episode again. I mean, if you want to listen to our old episodes, go back and listen to them. But if we don't have something meaningful to say or talk about,
or time to try to put together
we're
notes,
just not going to record an episode. We really want them to be special. We want you guys to enjoy it. We want it to be somewhat original. I mean, that's hard to be original in this day and age. I mean, I don't even know how many watch podcasts are out there anymore.
Since we started, there have been an exponential number. And there's some that I've seen pop up.
There were like
just
two that were recording regularly
Correct.
when we started, and I think now there's like 5 or 6 at least that are releasing on a weekly basis.
I just found 2 new ones this week.
Yeah, I mean that's like I said. If you want a podcast, hit record on the iPhone and start talking, right? And then upload it somewhere. You can start your own podcast. But the bottom line is, we know you guys are bombarded with stuff. I mean, between all the different social media channels out there, you could easily figure out a way to spend 16 hours out of your waking day on social media, whether you're watching videos or listening to podcasts or reading Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or whatever you're doing, right? So we really, and we've said this before, we really, really appreciate that you guys take the time to listen to our little podunk show. It really means a lot to us, and we want you guys to be part of it. And that's what's brought us to this point, right?
Mm-hmm. And for our new listeners, we have quite a few recently during quarantine. This show was born out of regular conversation. I started as a collector at a very young age. I tend to collect more vintage and interesting pieces that aren't a lot of money. We do have some nicer high-end pieces, but we're not in the Patek or Audemars Piguet range at this time. So what we've done is taken what we talk about at home on the sofa or at dinner and said, gosh, we're sitting here talking about this topic for an hour. Why don't we record? Because as a woman, 3 years ago, there wasn't a lot of females in the industry. However, when we went to Couture Time at Las Vegas, which is the new part of the jewelry show, the watch segment, there were actually a lot of women in the marketing roles.
Working in the industry.
Most of the people we met with were women. Oddly.
But like a lot of them that we met with, they didn't like watches at all.
No,
they
didn't wear watches.
In the marketing department,
but
right?
But they did know a lot about them. Oris, they knew a lot about them.
They have to know about their brand. But...
And even when we walked into Chopard, they had a lot to say about the technical side of their watches. That was a really good experience. But we talked about that in our old episodes.
We're very proud to be the first watch podcast of any kind with a female
married to a male host.
There's plenty of guys that do podcasts, right? I'm just another dime a dozen guy doing a podcast, but you're the first female watch collector to have a podcast, and we're very, very proud of that.
We are.
Very proud of that. So.
And we're average people. We're pretty average.
I'd say below average, but yeah,
well,
okay.
Depends.
Maybe
Depends.
average.
We've got a diverse background. We came from Silicon Valley. We're now in the country, although you're still in the industry, but you're managing this giant property of rescue animals. So we've got a little bit of variety here and there.
Well, yeah, and you mentioned that, and I know you wanted me to mention this on the intro, that the industry that I work in, I've been busier than I've been in years because of the industry I work in.
Trust me.
Right?
I haven't seen him a lot, even though he lives here.
Our technology enables most of this work from home stuff that everyone's having to do. So I've been incredibly busy.
Which has been a blessing.
I mean, it's been 15, 16, 17-hour days. I mean, crazy, wake up and start dealing with stuff. So it's been crazy, very rewarding though, incredibly rewarding to be able to help people get through this. But that's another reason why we haven't recorded for a month. So I think we've said enough. We've babbled on for probably 10 minutes. Let's get to the meat of this thing.
All right. So
without further ado.
Yes, I would like to introduce our first Loving Our Listeners Spotlight guest. Her name is Lorraine. And why don't we go ahead and talk to Lorraine?
All right, let's do it. Let's talk to Lorraine.
So here we are today with Lorraine, our first listener guest. Hey, Lorraine.
Hi there.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. I'm very honored to be your first Loving Our Listeners guest, and just very happy to be here with you, Perpetual Girl and Ranch Racer.
Thank you. Really glad to have you. And I guess we could start a little bit about you. You and I have actually known each other for a couple of years now, maybe even longer.
I think it's been more than a couple of years.
Yeah, it's
several years.
Yeah, several years.
Well, very casually the first couple of years we met through, was it a goose rescue, I believe? We happened to be on duty.
The Woodland Goose Rescue in 2015.
Wow. Okay, so
is that the one that I went to as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where that big pond was empty, right? So we had to herd all the geese into the.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's
cool.
That's where my Gordy came from. He came from that rescue.
And then we didn't talk too much then, and then we did a second rescue in Vacaville.
In Vacaville, yep.
And that's the one.
That was just a year later.
Wow. Time flies.
And that's when you went to. I didn't go to that one.
Yes, you did not go to that one. But Lorraine, you were there with your dad. And
yes, I was.
My one of my rescue geese, her mama came from there. So we're kind of connected in a few ways.
Yeah, several ways. It's pretty cool.
And when I adopted my youngest goose from you, I was so happy about that. And we had so much fun that I gave you a watch. And
you did.
I might have started something.
Very special watch.
Aww.
And yeah, you definitely got something started there. I don't know if it's for the good or the bad, but it's certainly been a lot of fun. And
basically, she created a monster, is what you're saying.
She created a monster. Yes, because now I'm wanting to buy all these watches, and I spend time in the evenings Googling various watches that I want. And I've had the opportunity to view both of your watch collections, and there's definitely a couple of brands that I have my eye on, and I would really like to have one of my own someday, but right now it's just not a financially I'm not able to do that right now.
Right. That's okay. So let's see here. Let's start with, why don't we have you do your wrist check? We'll do wrist checks and we'll have you start
do
first.
Wrist checks. That's right.
Oh yeah, wrist check. So I had a tough time coming up with the watch I wanted to do my wrist check on, but I decided on a very special watch. It's a Seiko. It's a SARG 001, and I don't think it's considered a true alpinist model, but they kind of refer to it as an alpinist inspired. And it's a 40 millimeter case size, and it has the stainless steel band, and it's just beautiful. And actually, it was you, Perpetual Girl, who sent me a screenshot of someone on Instagram that had it for sale. And
It was
it's
my
got
fault.
it's got a cream dial, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful watch. And I'm just so excited that I was able to get it. It is an automatic. It has a 6R15 movement in it, and it's absolutely beautiful. And I really, really enjoy it.
It is. I love that color dial.
Yeah, I was looking for an alpinist anyway, and when I saw that, I just knew, oh, I have to have it. I have to have it.
I think it was
So
a good
I bought
choice.
And in fact, when I got it in the mail, it was even more beautiful and even better condition than the pictures. So very, very happy.
That's great.
With the purchase.
Well, we've seen it in person, and it looks brand new.
Yeah, it really does.
It's beautiful.
So,
that was a good choice.
Yep.
Good choice.
Not something I really want to wear hiking, because I like to wear a watch when I'm hiking, but I'm too afraid to wear it hiking because I don't want to scratch it or damage it, and I'm notorious for scratching watches. and which you already know because
Ranch Racer
has already replaced the crystal on one of my watches. So
That's right. Yeah.
Well, Ranch Racer's always happy to oblige if it's something he can do. So
Yep.
Yes.
For sure.
funny.
You want to do your wrist check?
Sure. I'm wearing the Mr. Jones Sun and Moon, and this one
Is that your newest one?
It's one of the I purchased the Mr. Jones COVID-19 donation pieces.
That's right. Okay, that's right.
This one,
cool.
I got this one before that. I saw it and I kind of fell in love with it instantly. And it's Sun and Moon, and portraying time with the Sun and Moon concept is a really old. It's an old, I think it's 17th century method where after they started making large timepieces and clocks, they tried to figure out how to do it, whether with the stars and this has a sun. It's a half disc where the sun starts at the very left, which is 6 a.m. and then it goes up to noon at the top. And then by the time the sun gets down to normally the 3 o'clock position, it's 6 p.m. So along the way, it has some animals and trees and light and dark areas where it kind of shows what comes out at night, because it's got a whole nighttime disc as well where the moon comes across. So being on a ranch or doing a lot in nature, I think this watch really suits our lifestyles, because I know that when that sun's getting close down to not being in view anymore, I better get outside and put everybody away.
That's really cool.
It's neat. It's neat. It's not.
It is a cool way to represent, and this is not a moon phase, folks.
No,
different, right?
This is different. Sun and moon.
Like I've got an Orient that's similar, right? It's an AM PM indicator basically, but the way Mr. Jones does it is just so
it's
cool.
more detailed, and like right now it's 3 o'clock, so they're at the noon position. It's got a couple of horses, which means normally we're heading out around 3:30, 4 o'clock. To go feed our horses.
That's perfect.
So it's
perfect.
It's actually relevant to me. It doesn't have loom on the nighttime though, as far as I know. I haven't seen any loom, so I don't wear this at night. But
yeah, I don't think so.
During the day, I'm awake, and I really like the watch. It's a
cool.
lot of fun.
I dig it.
Yeah, it's got a brushed. Go ahead.
The Mr. Jones watches are really cool. I like them.
They are. They're so clever. Really clever. A lot of art in it. Very unusual, unique stuff. So they're a friend of the podcast, and we love their watches. So
yep.
Yeah.
That's my wrist check.
Maybe I'll have one myself someday.
Oh, yeah. Maybe one will be on your list.
Yeah.
All right, my turn.
Ranch Racer.
I'm wearing a watch that I actually bought for myself like a year ago, and wore it for the first time about a week ago. Which,
wow.
Let me explain. It's a little odd. So I bought this watch when it came out last year. It's the Bulova Accutron. So it's a recreation of their really cool kind of sci-fi 1970s digital.
It's a big square.
Digital watch where you read the time at an angle. It's all, digitally and stuff. And if you look at it from the top, yeah, it's just a big kind of silver rectangle. So I bought this for myself brand new. Got it home, and PG, I think it was almost like before I could get the box out of the bag, you had taken it from me, resized it for your own wrist, and I never saw it again. It became your nighttime watch, which I was cool with. But then, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, all of a sudden my Submariner, I'm like, where's my Submariner? It was gone. And
PG stole it.
Yes.
PG has stolen the Submariner and put it on her new pink rubber straps.
The Cincy strap.
Yeah, and so the Submariner was that's like my night watch. It's the best. It's got the best lume of any watch I own. Goes to bed with me every night. I charge it up. It lasts all night. So I'm like, well, I need a night watch. So I'm going to steal my Accutron back. So that's what I did. So I found the links, stole my Accutron back, got it sized. And I have to admit, it is a really cool watch.
It looks nice on you.
And it's not one I'd wear during the day because I'm used to just flipping my wrist over and looking at the time. With this, there's the added step of reaching over and pressing the button with your other hand. So it's probably not one I'd wear during the day, but at night it's fantastic because I can be totally out of it, halfway asleep, open one eye, press the button, and I can see the time. So
without glasses.
Without glasses,
Nice.
It's very easy to read. So that's...
it's also got the day and the date, which in quarantine is good to know because it's like Groundhog Day.
Yeah, you just push the button in succession.
Every day.
Yeah, so you get your time, AM or PM, and then you get your seconds counting down, then you get your day and date, and then your day of the week, and then your second time zone, and then full circle back to the time. So definitely a cool, fun piece, and it's been keeping me... abreast of the time at night since my Submariner's missing. So. That's my wrist check.
I have a feeling someone knows where that is.
Oh, yeah. Yes. And it will be getting stolen back.
Maybe. Maybe. Well, let's get back to Lorraine and let's talk about your collection a little bit.
Okay. Actually got all my watches together this morning. I took a picture of them because I didn't even really know how many I had. I have 12. Actually, I have 13. But number 13, my newest purchase, I purchased the Traska Summiteer. Which is a really, really cool watch. It's I got the sage green dial and the orange second hand, which really, really pops.
Oh yeah, nice
got
combo.
A beautiful stainless steel bracelet, very similar to the Traska Freediver, which I also have.
Mm-hmm. We're twins on that. We're twins.
Sorry, what?
We both have the Traska Freediver.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Twinsies. Yes, I have to say I copied you.
That's
saw
okay.
That.
I don't mind.
I like it. Mine has a small difference, though. It does have the date, which is really cool. A little bit. It was a revised edition.
Has a little bit different hands too, I think.
It does, yeah.
Slightly different.
They went from the leaf hands to the
petal
to the
flower.
straight to the arrow hands.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I didn't remember that. Be cool to look at.
I actually kind of like. I kind of like it better anyway, but
you like the arrow?
Yeah, but that might just be because I always thought the leaf was more feminine than masculine. But so yeah, I like the new hand. So I have the gray dial of that same watch, but it's the original, so it's got the leaves. But no date, and I love the date. I like having the date on the watch, so that's very cool. I
do too, because I can never remember, and I have to refer to the date all the time.
You're not alone,
especially these days.
Yeah.
In fact, I kind of hesitated for a while when I guess before I ordered the Summiteer, because the Summiteer does not have a date. But I loved the watch, and I thought this is going to be the perfect hiking watch. So, yeah, really looking forward to wearing it. I had to send it back because the crown was too long on it, and it just really stuck out funny. So John over at Traska was like totally awesome. I just sent him a message on Instagram, and we messaged a few minutes, and sent me a return label to return the watch, which I
Wow.
did last week. And he's
Excellent.
sending me out a replacement. So
That's great.
really, really good service, really fast service. I'm very happy.
That's
You know,
wonderful.
that's a big deal when it comes to the micro brands, because that's not always the case, right? Because usually it's, like John, it's one guy or gal that's doing everything from handling the production to the billing to the shipping and everything, and it can be hard for them on the customer service side. So I'm really glad to hear.
Yeah.
I've had some good interactions with John as well over the last couple of years, so I'm really glad to hear that it was a fast turnaround.
Now, your Summiteer, does that also have the anti-scratch on the stainless finish?
It does. It
Oh,
does.
that's great.
Yeah, I think it's the exact same stainless steel band, but yeah, it has the scratch resistant coating too, which is great. I mean, the Traska Free Driver is definitely one of my favorite watches. I wear it quite a bit when I'm outside doing chores, taking care of animals. I run a waterfowl rescue. We rescue domestic ducks and geese, and it's called Pacific Waterfowl Rescue. And if any of the Love and Watches listeners would like to follow us on Instagram, we are on Instagram. We're also on Facebook.
Great.
And you had mentioned Beeps earlier, and I know her official name is Pearl, which Ranch Racer, I love the nickname that Ranch Racer gave her, Pearl Squirrel. It just cracks me up. Because she has does she still play with the little stuffed squirrel?
No, she doesn't. She's outside full time now, so we don't have the squirrel out there with her for
And
safety reasons.
if we put it out there, like, the other geese would just destroy it.
Oh,
there wouldn't be
yeah,
much
they
left
would
of it.
chew it. Yeah, they would chew it up.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah,
But she
But
did
yeah,
play
that's
with it as a
something-
baby.
yeah. When she lived inside for a few months, she did play with it, and it was pretty darn funny. It was her squirrel. It was her.
And
little-
I could not have handpicked a better mom and dad
Aw.
for Pearl, for Beeps. I don't know why. I think because she was just always beeping at me and peeping and squeaking, and I just started calling her Beeps, and I haven't stopped calling her Beeps. So
Us
she just
too.
had
Us
her
too.
second birthday
Uh-huh.
a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
and I am just so happy that the two of you have her, because I love her dearly.
And she still does that. I mean, it's not a beep anymore
She
because
talks a
she's got her
lot.
adult voice,
Yeah.
but I mean,
Yeah.
she's constantly talking to herself. I mean,
She
the other
talks to her
geese are pretty
food.
quiet, but she's eating and talking to her food, or
She
she's
purrs.
I mean, there's always a noise coming out of that goose. It's hilarious.
And she still sits on my lap. I had her
Yep.
on my lap yesterday. So
Yeah. So I have, I wanted to tell this story. I really got into watches, and, with talking to you, Perpetual Girl, and listening to the podcast, and just got really, really excited. I love jewelry. I've always loved jewelry, and especially bracelets. And so I've had watches in the past, because working as an ER nurse, I always had a watch on my wrist, and always enjoyed wearing a watch because it's kind of like wearing a bracelet, but never really kind of got into watches as a hobby until a couple of years ago. So I like to get on Facebook Marketplace, and I'll search for watches that I'm interested in. And it just happens that something popped up in a local Tehachapi group. I live in Tehachapi, California. We're in a little mountain community just east of Bakersfield. And I found this woman was selling this Tourneau Safari watch. And this watch kind of has a history. Anyway, she was selling it for only $25. And I thought, wow,
I remember.
that's So, I told her I was interested and, went to her house to pick it up. And lo and behold, this watch was brand new, never been worn. The battery no longer worked, but she had received it as a gift from the Ellen show over 10 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a really
nice
neat pedigree.
Yeah. She, her and her husband were moving out of state. And so just, cleaning things out, and she had come across this watch, and the watch still had all of the plastic covering on it. It had the little tag, that has the thread and, is attached to the watch. And, absolutely perfect. And I almost felt guilty giving her only $25 for it because it's worth so much more. It's just beautiful, and I still need to send it in to Tourneau to get a battery. I'm actually holding the watch right now, and I'm going to make it a priority this week to package it up, send it to a Tourneau, and get the battery replaced.
Yeah, don't do that. Just bring it down here next time you come. I can have that
really?
battery replaced for you in 5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, don't. That'll cost you a lot of money to do that. Don't do that.
Oh, will it? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think they're set up for that kind of thing.
They are, but they're going to charge you a premium. I mean, anyone any jeweler could replace the battery, but you come down here frequently enough, just bring it next time, and I'll just pop a new one in there for you.
Okay.
Totally.
It's got little tiny screws. It's got these little bitty screws on the back. There's 4 screws. I had thought about trying to do it myself, but Jade, my husband, doesn't even have a screwdriver that small. So
yeah, you need you need the little jeweler's screwdrivers, which I have here. So
we've got all that.
Yeah, we can totally do that for you.
Risking sending it, far in the mail is, you don't want to have something break.
Yeah, and it's just going to end up costing you more than it should to replace a battery
with your shipping cost and all that.
Just bring it here. That is it's such a cool watch.
Oh, can you describe it for us?
One of my favorites in your collection.
Yeah, it's really, really special. Tell us what it looks like.
Yeah, it's got a mother of pearl dial, which is just gorgeous, and then the numbers on it are different sizes, like the 11 and the 1 and the 5, 6, and 7, they're like a larger number than the 8 and the 9 and the 3 and the 4. So they're just kind of the numbers on the dial. I think they really pop. And there's also a date window at the very, very top.
I see that.
And it's a 3-date wide window, so it's kind of cool. So it shows you 3 different days in there, and the one in the center is the actual date, which is really neat.
Reference.
Is that what that is?
Yep.
Yeah.
I wondered. I had wondered about that. I'm like, why does it show? Right now it shows 27 and then the dot and then a 25. And I thought, well, maybe it's just because the battery's not working and it's just kind of set, kind of wonky. So I didn't realize it was supposed to show 3.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it is neat. So yeah, it's showing the 26th right now. And I do, the indices are so cool with those numbers.
Beautiful.
All the different, and it looks like they're polished, right? Those are polished stainless.
Applied. They look like they're applied.
Indices. Yeah. Just really, really neat.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's really pretty. I believe it's a 34 millimeter, so it's a nice size for a female wrist. My wrist is 6. I think it's 6 1/4.
I think you're the same exact size as me. Yeah, 6 1/4.
Yeah, I think we have the same size. And then I apologize that the band on it is, I believe it's a Jubilee. It's a 5 stainless steel band.
I think it's a 5 link.
Well, yeah, it's a 5. It's similar. It's kind of similar to a Jubilee, but I'd almost call it a 5-link H pattern, right? Because if you look at it, it looks like little miniature H's that kind of run down the center, right?
It is. That is correct.
Yeah,
yes.
So it's kind of that's what I would probably refer to it as,
or
an
kind
H
of
pattern.
Almost an oyster, the way those center links have the.
Yep, similar.
And the chapter ring is white. It's pretty.
Correct watch terminology. I probably should.
No, you know a lot. You've learned so much. Yeah, no, it's a beautiful piece.
Yeah, it's really, really pretty.
Well, and
So,
Ellen DeGeneres is a big, big, big watch collector, and she collects Rolex.
yes,
And
she is. She has.
so I
Yeah.
wonder what the details were on this giveaway. Because doesn't she normally
I
give
know.
everybody
I
something,
know.
or is that a different show?
She gives everyone the same. Well, it's kind of like, doesn't Oprah do
Oprah.
that too? They give away
It's been
stuff
so long
to the
since
audience.
we've watched television.
A little
The
disconnect.
I've got the watch warranty and this little instruction book that came in the box, and it says on it December 2006 Tourneau timepieces, and then there's
Wow.
a watch model number as well as an item number. But gosh, for 2006, I mean, it looked like it is brand new. It's just been sitting
Absolutely.
in a box for so many years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the hands are pretty too. It's
Yeah, it's
a
a really
nice
cool looking
piece.
piece. So you mentioned, we'll get to some of your other watches, but you mentioned something. You said that it was a really good size for the female wrist. So I want to ask you, what is it like being a female collector? Is it frustrating? Are you frustrated a lot of the time that you can't find things that are the right size? Do you like the more blingy stuff that's marketed to women? What is it like to be a female collector in this day and age?
I know it's a big question.
It's like it is a big question. The thing that frustrates me is, to me, watches are really no different than like automobiles. Automobiles, you don't see them. When you go out to shop for a new car, you don't look for a men's car or a woman's car. Same thing with watches. Why do we have men's watches and women's watches? You like what you like, and granted, I think there's definitely size differences, but that doesn't necessarily mean a woman can't wear a 45 millimeter case size if that's what she likes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I have found that I think my preferred or my favorite case size for my wrist is 38. I really, really like the 38 millimeter. I like the look of it. I can see the watch well. I like, the comfort of it. 38 just really works for me. I have several 40s also. I've got this 34, and then I even have a little bitty Wenger Swiss Army watch that was my nursing watch for several years, and I'd probably have to measure it, but it's much smaller. It's probably
Maybe 29.
29 or
Looks like
30.
about
Yeah.
29.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
What did you
Yeah.
What did you say the Tourneau was? A 34?
Oh, maybe it's a
Yeah.
31.
So it's probably like a 30 or 31.
31.
I'd imagine. Just looking
Yeah.
at the picture. That's
Yeah.
interesting that you wore that when you were actively doing your nursing, because I have noticed that's a really popular brand for nurses.
Yes.
Did you
It
realize
is.
that?
That and Marathon.
Yeah, Swiss Army, kind of the Swiss Army, Victorinox and Wenger are definitely popular brands, at least in the emergency room where I worked, because I knew several people that had the Swiss Army watches. So
Is there a reason for that? Just because they're rugged, or do you know what the reason was?
I don't know the reason. Maybe because they're just kind of that kind of maybe tool watch style. And of course, in healthcare, it's very important to have a watch with a second hand, because we're always, checking pulses and, listening with a stethoscope, listening to someone's heart rate and counting. I always counted for a full 30 seconds and then multiplied by 2 to get, the heart rate. So, yeah. I'm just
That's
guessing maybe
interesting.
because it's kind of a tool watch type style, which actually is kind of, I think, my favorite kind of style of watch. I really, really like the tool watch style, field watch.
Field watches.
Just because
Mhm.
it fits kind of my personality, because I'm outdoorsy and like to hike and be outside, and I like the field watch style.
There's definitely, when you look at your whole collection all at one time, there are a lot of similarities, but you do have a good range. Like you've got like your Undone and your Hampton, which are they're more basic tool watch. But then you've got your Citizen Eco Drive, which is a little more feminine, but it's still got a pretty decent size case diameter. That looks like a 36 or 38.
It's a 36.
Okay.
Yeah, the Citizen is a 36, and I got that at Costco. Just was, looking in the jewelry cases, which I always enjoy doing, and I saw this Citizen just kind of pop out at me, and it doesn't have any numbered indices. It has one. It has the 12, and it's really large at the top, and then it's got you have the hour and the minute, and it's got a second hand. But really, it just, I don't know, for some reason, it just spoke to me. And so I'm walking around Costco, and I'm thinking, no, I'm not going to spend the money on it, And I went back and I looked at it, and I tried it on, and it's then I had the guy put it away, and walking around, no, I really don't need to spend the money on that this time. And then I went back a third time and found the guy and says, can I have that watch? I really want to buy it.
Yeah. Of course you do.
I'm sure that's a familiar story.
Of course you do.
I think I texted you, Perpetual Girl.
Yes,
I texted
yes.
you right after. Said, look at this watch.
Well, and the neat thing about it is it's, I like that it has the stick indices, but just the 12. But it also has, it's all stainless with is it a white mother of pearl, or is it a silver dial?
White.
White.
It's white.
And then the crown and the hands are yellow gold. And I think the indices are gold too, aren't they? Yellow gold?
Yeah, they are.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So it's got a little bit of two-tone, but the band is all solid stainless, so it's a really pretty watch.
Yeah, and I often wear that one when I go to work, when I have to go into the office. Most of the time I work from home, but sometimes I do travel and I have to go into the office. And many times I choose the Citizen because it's very clean, it's professional, very, very, very nice.
It is. And you have, I see you also have the Rite of Passage, the gold Seiko from the 1980s. I have one too.
Yeah,
high school graduation.
Yeah, it's funny that you got one too for high school graduation. But yeah, I got that watch from my parents as a high school graduation present in the 80s. So
I like that yours is two-tone.
It's a tiny little thing. That one, the battery doesn't work either. It's a quartz, Seiko quartz. But, I'll always cherish that little watch. I mean, I may never, ever wear it again, but
I think it's cute.
It still means a lot to me.
Yeah.
It has sentimental value. And I think it must have been common in the 80s for people to give high school graduates watches.
I think so.
But then I know it's a tradition that kind of continues today, too.
Right. And I think at the time that trend for us, for our parents, what they're, what they were able to afford, I think that was a really popular watch for women graduating.
Yep. Well, and quartz was, 70s was the whole
hot.
quartz revolution, excuse me. So, yeah, everyone was getting quartz watches in the 70s and 80s when they graduated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I think this is a really pretty watch. I know it's tiny, but with the two-tone band, the yellow and stainless, I think it is beautiful. It looks like a beautiful bracelet. I would still wear it.
Oh yeah, it is a beautiful bracelet, and I should probably wear it. It'd be a pretty watch to wear into the office.
With a little silver bracelet with it, an extra. So bring it along with you next time you come up. If you bring me another goose, and bring that Torno, and we'll get it all fixed.
You don't have to bring another goose, by the way. You can just bring the watches.
I've got to pay you back somehow, right?
There's always room for
trade a watch battery for a goose, a rescued goose.
No.
There's always room for one more.
Oh, God.
And you're like, is that watches or geese?
Yeah, right. There's always room for more watches. I can agree with that.
There's always room for one more. Oh, gosh. Let me look at my list here. So.
Oh, I like question 8. That's when we have to ask everyone that we have on the show.
Okay. Another question is, do you have, are you ready? Do you have a Grail watch?
A watch.
A
one,
watch.
If you could have one watch, what would it be?
Oh.
Maybe she doesn't have one.
Oh gosh.
The
that
Grail.
Is a hard question. You know what? I think if I really if I really had to choose just one, but this could change like, next week too, but it would probably be the Rolex Air King. I love the Rolex.
Like the contemporary one with the yellow and the green. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a great watch.
I like
it's a fantastic watch, and for whatever reason, it doesn't get the press or the notoriety like things like the Submariner and the Daytona and all those get. But I think it's one of their best looking. That and the Milgauss are both just awesome pieces.
It doesn't seem to. Definitely does not seem to be as popular as. I mean, of course, the Sub and the Oyster Perpetuals. Or probably not even as popular as the Datejust, but it's just it's a cool looking watch, and it's just very simple and very kind of everyday usable.
It's a tool watch. It totally fits your personality, and it fits the type of style that
the rugged
tends to kind of go through your collection. Good for hiking or good for anything, right? Just a good rugged tool watch.
Yeah. But I think I would be afraid to take it hiking.
I know.
I mean, if I spent that kind of money to purchase one, I don't know if I'd have the courage to take it hiking or, wear it when I'm out doing chores.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, we're the same way. We're the same way. Sometimes I'll start out and I'll have one on like a more expensive watch, and then I end up changing it. Just because it's like, ooh, I got pretty close to banging it against this barn door here, and I should really be more careful. So,
yeah,
I think a lot of people change their watches during the day. I think that's common.
Because a lot of times, when I'm working during the day at home, because I work remotely, I enjoy, wearing something. One of my nicer watches, like, the Seiko that I'm wearing today. But I don't want to wear that outside when I have to go outside to take care of the birds. So I'll switch to the Seiko 5 or the Traska Free Driver, or the Undone Base Camp.
Ah, that's a neat looking watch.
And, those are all waterproof, and, I do get them scratched up, unfortunately. The Undone Base Camp. Have you seen that one?
Oh yes, I like it. That was the one that you thought you lost, isn't it? And then you found it. Yeah,
that's the one I thought I'd lost, and I found it. Yeah, I was so happy.
I know.
But it has a domed crystal, which is really cool. It's kind of like that vintage look.
Yeah.
And the colors on it just really, really pop. And
you did a good job picking out that combination.
Yeah, but the crystal, but it's not it's crystal. It's made out of Lexan.
Okay.
And it does scratch, and it does unfortunately have several scratches in it. They're not like really bad, like super deep or anything. And the scratches are kind of more noticeable if I hold it in a certain way in the sunlight, but
you can get what's that stuff I just bought?
You bought
it's called
crystal?
Poly Scratch or something. I
think it's the stuff everybody uses, right?
To buff those out. A lot of people will also just use regular old toothpaste. Just regular old toothpaste with a little bit of the grit in it, and you just take that on a soft cloth, and you just kind of rub it in and circular around it, and that'll also buff out the scratches.
Oh wow, I'll have to try that.
That's the one neat thing about the plexi crystals is that you can kind of restore them, like with a sapphire or especially with just a basic glass crystal. If you scratch that, you're not going to get it out. But the plexiglass ones, you can actually buff a lot of those out. So,
I'll definitely try that.
I'll get you the name of the product that Ranch Racer.
I think it's Polywatch.
Yeah,
I think it's Polywatch. I just bought some, but
okay.
And I do have to say that my Traska Free Diver with the coating, I wear that. I wear that watch a lot around here. It's probably one of the top 3 or 5 watches I wear all the time. And I was looking at it this morning after we talked, and I can't see a single scratch on it, even on the clasp. It looks brand new.
Yeah, mine too. And surprisingly, I have not scratched that one either.
Yeah, I think it's doing its job. That coating.
Yeah, it's really a hardy watch.
Yep.
Well, and it's a neat, because previously if you wanted a watch that had some kind of a proprietary hardening process done to the stainless, you're looking at Zinn or some of the other higher end. Yeah, I mean, Zinn's, you're not going to get that for under $1,000 or $2,000. So it was really neat. I thought it was really cool that Tresca included that as an option on their watches. I think it's a really neat thing.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I really like it.
And I have to say that Undone, I never thought I'd say this, but I think it's one of my favorites in your collection. And it's not a brand that we haven't really talked much about that brand on the show. We don't own any of them, but it really is a neat thing where you go on and basically design your watch, right? You pick your hands and your bezel and your case and your dial and all the colors, and
even Snoopy, right?
You make your watch, and then you can get, custom engraving on it and all kinds of stuff. But I think they're really cool. And it's got a Seiko. I think it's got a Seiko movement, right?
It does have a Seiko movement. And I apologize, I can't recall the watch movement number, but it is a Seiko.
Would it be an NH35?
Yeah,
maybe?
it's probably the NH35.
Like in all the other micro brands use them.
Yeah, it's very, very popular.
I think it probably is.
Yeah, it's very popular with the micro brands because it's affordable. It works great. It lasts forever, and you can get them.
Yeah, and it has the open case back, which I really, really like. I really enjoy seeing. I don't know why, but I do too. I prefer the open case back because I just enjoy seeing it, even though, the watch is on my wrist and I can't look at it. But I like the open case back. It's
I do too, cool. And I think it's something that for new collectors, it's so fascinating that I think I think it brings people in, and that's what's fun about it. It doesn't have to be a $2,000 watch. It can be a affordable entry-level Seiko or anything.
And the Undone Base Camp is definitely my hiker's watch. I saw that, and it really spoke to me. I really liked it. And I thought that is the perfect watch to wear on my summer backpacking trip with my daughter. So I ordered it. It came super, super fast. I was really impressed because it came straight from Hong Kong. And took it on my hiking trip with my daughter last summer in the Eastern Sierra, and it was perfect. Really enjoyed wearing it.
Well, and your hiking trips are not like my nature walks. You normally pack in 10 miles, 15 miles to a site with a backpack?
Well, yeah, we usually do some kind of loop. 2 summers ago, we did the Ray Lakes loop. We started on the western side of the Sierra and it's a 40-mile loop. And we did that in 4 days.
Gosh. We're rolling our eyes.
Which,
wow.
For this elderly mom.
Stop.
Was definitely a bit much. I think if we had done it in 5 days, I would have enjoyed it a lot more.
Oh dear. Wow.
Not to say that I did not enjoy it, because I did enjoy the trip very much, but my knees were just killing me. My knees and my feet were just really tired, and I'm out of shape. I'm not in the hiking shape that I was when I lived in Mammoth Lakes. Lived there for several years, and I was probably in the best shape of my life physically. But I still enjoy hiking, and I still have quite a bit of endurance, even though I'm out of shape physically.
Well, you sound like you're in pretty darn good shape to me.
I'd be lucky to finish that hike in 10 days.
I would barely be able to do 2 hours. Well, I might be able to do 2 hours. It'd have to depend on my old horsey hip injury, but I did used to hike when I was in my 30s. That was fun. We'd do 5 or 10 mile hikes, but you really do use your watches for, your tool watches are used in a pretty serious environment and at altitude, because I know that you hike up probably Mammoth is up 10,000 feet. And I think where you're at is it 6,000 or 7,000? So I remember you were wondering how.
Where I live right now, we're at 4,000 feet. And then Mammoth is 8,000 feet. Okay. And then my husband and I have a cabin which is north of Mammoth Lakes, and our cabin is at 9,500 feet. So.
Wow.
Yeah. So speaking of your husband,
This is another question on our
I
list.
have to ask this, and this is especially pertinent for you as our guest because you guys are friends. We do see you from time to time, although we're all locked down right now, but we'll be seeing you again. I'm curious what he thinks about this hobby and if he completely blames us and hates us
and is
because
mad
of
at
it.
me. Is he mad at me?
No, he does not blame you. He does not hate you. I wish he understood it a little more. I wish he, would enjoy the hobby and kind of take it up himself. But he doesn't like. He doesn't like any kind of jewelry. He's not comfortable wearing jewelry. He did wear a watch when he was working. His background is a fireman and paramedic, and so when he was working full time before he retired, he did wear a watch, but he said that as soon as he was off work, the watch came off. So, but he does kind of roll his eyes when I talk about watches, or I said, oh, I just bought this new watch, and he just rolls his eyes because he doesn't fully understand. But he does know that I'm a jewelry nut, and I really like, my favorite kind of form of jewelry is a bracelet. And so in my mind, a watch is just another bracelet, right? It's a fancy bracelet.
Yes, and it provides some good complications to keep you informed of the time of day. And
yes,
some of them have alarms.
Kind of
yes, I agree. Well, I find I don't like to have to pick up my phone out of a wallet or not a wallet, I meant a pocket, and try to figure out what time it is. So for me, having the watch I think it's easier. It's faster.
Oh, for sure.
And then I'm not looking at my phone and seeing who's texting me. But
yeah.
Well, perhaps you can gift him a watch. And is that what Ranch Racer you're looking at right now?
I am. I think, Lorraine, we can help you out. I think we can help you out. I've got some ideas for you. I think we can help you out. Okay.
I'll look forward to hearing those ideas.
Yeah, no, for sure. And actually knowing that he was a firefighter, we'll get you dialed. Don't worry. We'll suck him in.
All right. Okay, cool.
And then we'll do a follow-up segment to see if that happens. We'll do one. That's funny.
No, we'll help you out for sure. Yep, definitely.
Awesome.
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
Well, I have more questions, but we've already gone over all of them because you do have some vintage pieces in your collection. That was one question. And then I guess the final question I have is, what's the next watch that you have your eye on? Like something that's attainable for you right now that you're thinking about or is on your next around the corner.
You and I kind of discussed a little bit about this last week, where it's kind of time for me to get a really, really nice piece. And of course, I would love to go for the Rolex, but that's just not in my budget right now. So I actually have 3 watches that I'm looking at, and one of them is the Monta Atlas.
Oh, that's a nice one.
It's so cool, and it's a tool watch, and it's a 38.5 millimeter, which is my preferred size. So that's a real possibility. And then I have wanted a Hamilton for a long time. And I really like the Hamilton Fields. They also come in a 38 millimeter, but the one I have my eye on is a mechanical, and I really would like an automatic. And I haven't really found a Hamilton automatic kind of tool watch that they're the larger sizes.
Right.
So they've got a really cool date auto, but it's 42 millimeter, and I think it would be too big for my wrist. I just don't think I would, for my own taste, I just don't think I would like it on my wrist, but it's a beautiful watch.
Yeah,
and then I love the Zodiacs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
Oh, no, I didn't want to interrupt, but I do like the Hamiltons also, and some of the ones that have the full day on top. Like, they're not the rail, what are they called?
Oh, yeah.
We looked at them at Macy's, but they were so big.
Well, they were part of the Jazz Master
Yeah.
collection.
Yeah, but they had those wire-looking lugs, like the old vintage style, like the older watches, and I really liked it. But they were just so huge. I think it was 42 or. But yeah, no, you're like me. I like that style, but it was just too big. So
Yeah.
So which
I can wear
Zodiac?
40, I think. I really like the Super Sea Wolf compressions, and they're a 40 millimeter, and they come in all kinds of like different colors.
They do.
Dial colors and bezel colors, and they're just they're
beautiful,
super cool looking. And the Zodiac and the Manta, they're both about the same price range, around 50, I think. 1,500 to 1,800. The Hamilton Fields are a little less expensive, but I think out of all three, I'm probably leaning more towards the Manta Atlas because that's just super cool.
It is. It's a really, really good looking piece.
Yeah.
And the GMT function is neat. It's a neat thing to have.
Yeah. The GMT, I think I'll enjoy that. I think I'll definitely enjoy that.
And that's a much different looking watch than the Zodiac. Like the Zodiac, I think of diver.
Yeah, the Zodiac's more of a diver.
And then the one I see a lot on Instagram is that greenish aqua bezel with the orange chapter ring. I see that one a lot. I love it. I didn't think orange and green would look that good together.
Zodiac with the silver dial?
This one? Yeah.
Yeah, the watermelon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the colors just pop.
I love that
just
one.
Pop. And I love that about some of these watches where they blend the colors and the colors just kind of like pop off your wrist.
And it works. And I'm seeing a lot of men loving pastels now, which for a while there, maybe when we started the show, we were talking about pastels, but now they're pretty popular.
I'd wear that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I love that. When that watermelon first came out, I mean, when they first announced it, I'm like that. I could see myself wearing that. It's a neat one.
But then that Atlas, that is going to be, that will go with everything. You won't have to.
Yeah, it's tough to go wrong with Manta.
That's almost like a one watch collection watch.
Yeah, and I think it comes in different dial colors, and I think well, there's a gray. I like the gray, but I also like the blue, and I don't have a blue dial watch, so.
It's a neat blue too. It's kind of a darker,
like a Tudor.
Yeah, it's really pretty.
Yeah.
And all the different
I'd like
straps.
to have a Black Bay someday too.
I love the Black Bay. I love the Black Bay. That's one of my.
Oh.
That's,
I could like add to the list. I could just keep writing down.
And you know, the newer, I love my Explorer, my vintage, but I'm a little worried about getting that wet just because of its age. It's 20. I think it's as old as my oldest Goose.
I think it's a 97, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not new, and that's one thing about buying a new watch is that you can trust that waterproof certification. So but the Black Bay, the Manta, I mean
that blue dial is awesome.
Yeah,
I love
beautiful.
That.
There's a white
really
dial
cool.
too.
The white's nice, but that blue dial is just like with the red accents. It's like that's perfect.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
Very, very good choice.
Those are really impressive choices because that totally suits your lifestyle.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely.
So we need to wrap, but anything else on your mind, watch related, that you want to let us know about, or?
Not that I can think of at the moment.
Anything?
I just really appreciate you having me on the podcast, and I've been, I listened to each episode and I get so into it that, you'll be talking about something and I want to interject and join the conversation, but I can't.
Well, today you can.
So yeah, I got the opportunity today. So.
And it's funny. It's funny because it just
really
kind of
fun talking watches.
It does. Conversation just comes easy when you have that common hobby. And when you and I were chatting about, trying to get you set up with Skype earlier, we started chit-chatting and I'm like, oh, we got to wait. We'll talk about this later. Let's not talk now. We'll talk later.
Stop. Don't look.
Yeah.
Let's save that for the podcast.
and it's fun having other female watch collectors to talk to because it's like I'm the only girl at our red bar, and I'm kind of surprised there aren't more female collectors. I'm really not. I am really
but I'm starting to see more on Instagram. They're starting to come out of the woodwork. A lot of the folks that, a lot of our listeners that have started following us on Instagram, they're new to Instagram, but there's a lot of females that are starting to follow us and listen to the podcast. And that's awesome. That's the whole reason that we started this, right? To bring more visibility and get more women into the hobby. So I think it's great.
During quarantine, the people following the podcast have gone up like by 500 just during quarantine, and lots of women, and some are reaching out to me, and they are new to Instagram. So that is true. But in general, it's still male dominated, right.
But I'm starting to slowly see that change, and I think that's great.
Yeah, they just really need to get rid of the whole male and female watch categories. They're watches, and everyone has different tastes and different styles, and it should not be limited to, I can't buy that because it's a men's watch, or I can't buy that because it's a women's watch. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, I think you're always still going to have your dainty cocktail watches with all your diamonds and things like that.
And that's okay.
And that's fine. Yeah. But when it comes to like a 34 millimeter, like the Manta or a Rolex, that Oyster Perpetual size, a lot of men are buying that 34 millimeter size now. I'm seeing more vintage watches, like the older Bulovas, the vintage Bulovas, Elgin, what's the one?
Well,
Wittenauer.
Wittenauer. My Bulova Devil Diver is a 39, and I love that thing.
And I think the sizes are coming down a little bit. They got so big, and for the last year or so, I think it's starting to.
It for sure is. I mean, I used to wear like 48s. I mean, gigantic.
What was that? Precisionist.
The Precisionist is freaking huge. Or maybe it's 46, though. But it's giant. But now I'm finding like 38 to 40 is that's what I'm buying these days. I'm not buying bigger unless it's a kind of a chunky dive watch, then 42 is okay. But I'm not buying big watches anymore. No. I think in general, the sizing is starting to come down, which helps men and women with smaller wrists, right?
And I'm seeing like Omega did the Speedmaster. Well, years ago they did the reduced, but now they have the 38 line, which is, they have the original black Speedmaster color scheme on it, but it isn't encrusted in diamonds. So they're offering the same watches at a smaller size, which is what we want sometimes.
Yep.
So I think we're getting there.
Yep. Well,
awesome.
I think we should wrap. We're going on an hour. That's
wow.
pretty good. Longer than I thought.
Well, thanks again. I really appreciate both of you, and just very grateful for your friendship.
Oh, we're grateful too.
And thank you for listening to the show. You were one of our first listeners, and we know you're a loyal listener. You've listened to all of them, and you give us feedback, which is great. We love to hear that. So thank you for listening to the show, and we appreciate you being on. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, that was totally fun talking to Lorraine. We're used to talking to Lorraine because she's a good friend. So we see her until this COVID stuff. We used to see her pretty frequently.
Yeah.
But to be able to really get into it with the watches and, and I think she's full of it. I think her husband hates us. I'd hate us.
He's such a great guy. He is such a really good guy.
I've only been able to meet him once. He's a really cool guy.
He's a retired first responder, firefighter, paramedic, and people that we respect very highly right now all over the world.
Absolutely.
So, but we thought, we were chatting this morning, and she was nervous, like, are we going to have enough to say for 15 minutes or so?
Yeah, ended up being an hour, right?
Yep. That's how it always goes. It ends up being like Red Bar.
Yeah, and it looks like we've yet again been a bad influence and turning her on to more watches. So, yeah.
She has some good taste.
He's probably going to stop allowing her to come see us, I'm guessing.
No, but I really do love her collection.
She's got a great collection.
Fantastic. Yeah. And that little part of my heart that is for vintage watches, I love that she's gone and looked at some pre-owned, pre-loved watches or watches with a story, creating her own. She's got that creative side. So really fun. I can't wait to do the next segment.
Yep, that was fun. We really hope you guys enjoyed our first Loving Our Listeners Spotlight. And again, if you're interested, let us know. reach out. Admin at loveandwatches.com is the easiest
or
email.
You can DM me directly, Perpetual Girl, on Instagram.
Yep. Either your account or the Love and
Love
Watches
and Watches
account, and PG will get back to you guys. One thing I wanted to let you know about, and I apologize for this, maintaining the website is a very part-time thing for me, and we realized that the contact form's not working. So for now, until I can get it working, I'm just going to pull it down and put our email addresses there on the website, and you can email us. That's all the contact form does anyway.
Yeah, we're having a little issue with the provider, so
I moved it, and so the performance is much better. The look and feel is a lot better, but that's the one piece that's been a sticking point is the contact form. So if you've reached out to us on the contact form in the last month or two, and we didn't respond, just send us a direct email. That's the best way to get in touch with us right now, or over Instagram. So yeah, as always, go check us out over on Instagram. PG is maintaining that account. Make sure you're following the podcast so you get updated on new episodes. And please, if you get a chance, give us a review. We did the one. We had one of those reviews that we read actually got back to us and let us know who they were. So we still owe them some swag. That was before COVID, so that's obviously put a wrench in things. But if you're listening,
we're not bad people.
We know that we still owe you that, and it is coming. We swear to God, it's coming out. We'll send that to you. But please give us a review if you listen in iTunes. If you listen in other ways, I can't really tell you how to do that stuff. But if you listen in iTunes, it's very easy to do a review.
Mm-hmm. We've had quite a few, and that's always the best feedback.
It is the best feedback. I mean, because we can go in there and look at what you have to say, and good or bad, right? Let us know. I mean, I think I'm very happy and very proud of the fact that our average is 5 stars, and we've gotten quite a few new reviews. But get over there and let us know, and just reach out and say hi. We're just hanging out.
And also give us a follow on Love and Watches. I think we're having some issues with that account.
For sure, that we've recently discovered.
And it's, what do you call it?
That's why I'm no longer maintaining our Instagram account. I got sick and tired of Instagram, especially when we found out.
It's kind of shut down.
Our account, for whatever reason, is, so... But I don't really care, because if you're listening, it means you're listening because you like podcasts, and I don't really care about the Instagram stuff. So, but definitely give us a review on iTunes. I think that's my normal spiel, right?
Thank you guys. Well, and we're really excited to be also getting our listener environment involved, because we've got a lot of good collectors out there.
We do.
Amazing collectors.
Yep. So looking forward to getting more of you guys on the show and bringing you on board. So I think that's it for today. Can we wrap this one?
Let's wrap.
I am Ranch Racer.
And I'm Perpetual Girl.
And we appreciate you guys listening to the show, and we will see you or talk to you on the next episode. Hang loose.
Take care, guys.